I'm speaking to you tonight at a very serious moment in our history. Army and Navy officials have been with the President all afternoon. In fact, the Japanese ambassador was talking to the President.
Eleanor Roosevelt was not only the first lady of the country when the Second World War broke out, she was also one of the first prominent American women to don a uniform. She joined thousands of her fellow New York ladies to do their part in one of the greatest collective endeavors the American people have ever endured. While, of course, the greatest hardships and sacrifices were made by the men of the World War II generation, the nearly 400,000 American women who answered their country's call contributed greatly to America's victory. In many important ways, these women are the direct ancestors of and remain an inspiration to the nearly 400,000 women who serve full-time in America's armed forces today. This film examines the story of women in the American military through the eyes of 15 New York women who served in the armed forces during the Second World War. We have captured their memorable testimony through the Veteran Oral History Project of the New York State Military Museum. It wasn't too long after the start of the war that the government made a concerted effort to involve the nation's women in the global struggle. This War Department propaganda film is an example of the USA's appeal to its more feminine side.
All I know is that the United States is the industrial phenomenon of the world.
I'll stick to my figures, Herr Schloss. To win wars, you need manpower. We know how many men the United States can put into the field. This number is limited by the number of men necessary for production of the materiel with which to fight. The ratio of workers to soldiers is fixed.
Herr Eberlein, have you ever considered the possibility of woman labor?
American women? Ha! Come. The most decadent women on the face of the earth. Flirts, cocktail drinkers, pleasure lovers, loafers, a race of playgirls pampered and spoiled by their sentimental American men. How different from the women of Germany, who trained like soldiers, who bred babies to wage this war, and are now producing the goods for our grown soldiers on the fighting fronts. And all this, Herr Schloss, without lipstick. American women, bah!
Unlike their male counterparts who were subject to the wartime draft, the women who served in World War II were all volunteers. Many different reasons led these women to leave their settled lives and join the war effort by enlisting. Some came from military families and wanted to carry on the family tradition of service to their country. One of these was Marie Dolan, a California native who served out the war in that state but now lives in New York. She tells how she came to join the Marines during the war.
And my brother-in-law was a graduate or a veteran of World War I, and he was been badly wounded, and he'd been a Marine. And so when it came out that there was the Marine Corps was going to accept women, I said, oh gee, I'd like to join, with just not even meaning it, of course. And he said, well, they wouldn't take you, and that's when it all started. And so I painted myself into a corner by applying and so on, and the next thing I knew, I was called to go to Washington, D.C. To be transferred to Camp Lejeune for boot camp.
What age
and
were you then?
I was about 23 or 2, I can't remember now. Well, I cried all the way to Washington. I didn't really want to go in at all, but I had sort of put myself in a position with friends saying, oh, you know, I'm joining, and it was really quite daring to join the service at that period. It was not considered quite nice.
Margaret Doris Lund Lear, goes by the name of Doris, grew up in the Rensselaer County town of Watervliet. She was also moved by family